Haruto Amakawa, a 20-year-old university student with the world's most average life, navigated his days between lectures, dreams of a less-than dramatic future, and an inexplicable talent for attracting bizarrely mundane misfortunes. His life, as unremarkable as it was, came to an even more unremarkable end in a car accident, which, frankly, was the most interesting thing to happen to him in years. In a plot twist that would make even a soap opera writer blush, Haruto's consciousness woke up in a new world inside the body of Ryo, a boy from the slums. Talk about an upgrade, or is it a downgrade? It's hard to tell. There Ryo was with a new name and a surprisingly low rent, ready to live a life that was anything but average. Imagine hosting a party in your brain where the memories of a diligent student and a street-smart kid are both invited. Haruto's academic prowess, mixed with Ryo's survival skills, in a cocktail of chaotic brilliance. The result? A unique perspective on life, where calculating the trajectory of a thrown apple is as important as knowing how to dodge it. Growing up in the slums, Ryo learned the fine art of dodging trouble, both metaphorically and literally. With Haruto's memories as his secret guidebook, Ryo navigated the complexities of his new life like a pro. His childhood was less about innocent play and more about playing it smart in a world that was often one step away from being a slapstick comedy. Just when Ryo thought things couldn't get weirder, he discovered his magical abilities. The first time he accidentally set something on fire with a snap of his fingers, he knew life was about to get a lot more interesting. Learning to control his powers was like trying to follow a recipe written in an unknown language. Messy, unpredictable, but ultimately rewarding. Now, armed with dual memories, a new identity, and questionable magical skills, Ryo embarked on a quest not just for survival, but for answers to questions he never thought to ask. Like, why him? And is it possible to find a decent meal in this world? Join Ryo as he juggles the absurdities of a life that's anything but ordinary, in a tale that's part comedy, part adventure, and entirely unpredictable. In the grand, magical, and sometimes outright bizarre world of Seirei Gensuki, Spirit Chronicles, the female characters aren't just part of the scenery. They're the scenery, the action, and sometimes the comic relief. First up is Latifa, the noblewoman with a knack for getting kidnapped.
Seriously? It's like a hobby for her.
But don't let her damsel in distress act fool you. She's got more layers than an onion in a ball gown. Her rescue by Ryo was less of a knight in shining armor moment and more of a right place, right time whoops. Your saved scenario. Latifa's gratitude is touching, but let's face it, she's probably just glad to get out of another tedious high society tea party. Then there's Celia, the academic whiz who sees Ryo as her personal project. Picture a blend of a strict librarian and a caring big sister, armed with a magical clipboard. She's the one who keeps Ryo on his toes, and not just with spellcasting lessons. Celia's blend of smarts and sass makes her less of a stereotypical mentor and more of a life coach with a magic wand. Aizia floats into the story shrouded in mystery and possibly a portable fog machine. She's the mystical guide with cryptic advice that sounds like it came straight out of a fortune cookie. Aizia and Ryo's interactions are like a magical mystery tour, except the bus is lost and the driver speaks in riddles. Miharu, the childhood friend who makes Ryo's heart do the tango of nostalgia. She's the human equivalent of a remember this Facebook notification. Miharu's sweet, caring nature is a stark contrast to the slapstick madness of Ryo's new life. She's the anchor to his past, even if Ryo's past is now more confusing than a Rubik's Cube. Enter Christina, the royal with more political savvy than a room full of diplomats. She's like a chess master if the chess pieces shot fireballs and turned invisible. Her interactions with Ryo are a dance of intrigue and cunning, which is just a fancy way of saying they're both trying to outsmart each other without letting on. And let's not forget the supporting cast of female characters, each adding their own flavor to the mix. From the spunky village girl to the stoic warrior woman, they create a world that's as colorful as it is chaotic. In the end, the women of Seirei Gensuki, Spirit Chronicles bring humor, heart, and a hefty dose of hijinks to Ryo's already tumultuous journey. They're not just characters in a story, they're the conductors of the crazy train that Ryo's riding. All aboard! In the amusingly magical world of SAIKENKI. Spirit Chronicles, the relationship between Ryo and Celia is like a buddy comedy with a magical twist. Their first meeting was less of a love at first sight and more of a confusion at first lecture. The new kid on the block, with a hidden past and a talent for attracting trouble, meets Celia, the star teacher with a heart of gold and a patience of steel. Picture a scene where a genius tutor meets a student who's got more secrets than a spy novel. As Ryo navigates the treacherous waters of magical academia under Celia's guidance, their relationship turns into a mix of impromptu magic lessons and accidental comedy routines. Imagine trying to learn complex spells while dodging the occasional fireball or unintended frog transformation. Celia's dedication meets Ryo's unorthodox approach to magic, creating classroom moments that are anything but textbook. Their journey together is filled with moments that range from touching to downright hilarious. One day, they're having heart-to-hearts about Ryo's mysterious past, and the next, they're inadvertently causing a magical mishap that makes a sitcom look tame. These emotional and funny escapades only deepen their bond, turning them into an unlikely but dynamic duo. The evolving relationship between Ryo and Celia doesn't just add a layer of depth to the story, it stirs a cauldron of comedic scenarios and heartfelt moments. Their bond influences Ryo's path more than he realizes, guiding him through the maze of magic and mayhem. Celia, in turn, finds her world turned upside down by Ryo's unpredictable nature, challenging her to see life beyond the confines of her books and spells. In this chapter of SAIKENKI, Spirit Chronicles, Ryo and Celia's story is a blend of magical school days, laughter, and life lessons. It's like watching a sitcom where every episode teaches you something new about magic and friendship, with a side of unintended chaos. Join them on this whimsical ride, where every spell cast is a step towards an unexpected adventure. In the enchanted, sometimes confusing world of SAIKENKI, Spirit Chronicles, the relationship between Ryo and Aijia is like a magical comedy skit that keeps on giving. Imagine walking into a mystical forest, and instead of finding a wise old sage, you find Aijia, a magical enigma, wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in a very confusing conversation. That's how Ryo's first encounter with Aijia went down. It was less of a meet, cute, and more of a meet, confusing, complete with cryptic comments and an ambiance that screamed, "You're not in Kansas anymore, Ryo." As Ryo and Aijia's paths intertwine, their interactions become a mix of magical mishaps and unintentional comedy. Picture a buddy cop show, but instead of cops, they're magic users. And instead of solving crimes, they're trying to understand each other's cryptic statements. Their dynamic is a roller coaster of bewilderment and enlightenment, with each misunderstanding leading to an accidental magical discovery. Their journey together isn't all smooth sailing or flying carpets. It's more like a miscommunication tango. Aijia's mysterious nature leads to more head-scratching moments for Ryo than a crossword puzzle. When they're not accidentally causing magical chaos, they're trying to figure out what the other is actually saying. But like any good comedy duo, they find their rhythm, turning confusion into collaboration, one magical blunder at a time. Aijia's influence on Ryo is like having a mentor who teaches you life lessons by sending you on a wild goose chase, magical style. Her cryptic guidance pushes Ryo to question everything he knows about magic, life, and why forests can't just be normal for once. Each interaction with Aijia leaves Ryo more enlightened and slightly more confused, but always ready for the next magical curveball. In this chapter of SAIKENKI, Spirit Chronicles, Ryo and Aijia's story unfolds like a magical mystery tour, where the clues are as baffling as the destinations. Join them in their journey of magical misadventures, where every spell cast and word exchanged is a step towards an unexpected revelation and probably a few unintended magical side effects. In the whimsically chaotic world of SAIKENKI, Spirit Chronicles, the saga of Ryo and Latifah is a comedic blend of heroics and heartfelt blunders. Imagine being Ryo, just minding your own magical business when suddenly you find yourself in the middle of a save the noblewoman scenario. That's how Ryo and Latifah's story begins. Ryo, in a heroic yet somewhat clumsy effort, rescues Latifah from kidnappers who were clearly absent on villainy training day. It was less of a knight in shining armor rescue and more of a whoops, I guess I'm a hero now moment. Post-rescue, Ryo and Latifah's relationship develops like a sitcom where the hero keeps tripping over his cape. Latifah is grateful, of course, but also a bit bewildered by this accidental hero who's as mysterious as he is awkward. Their interactions are a dance of gratitude and confusion, with Ryo trying to be the noble savior while also figuring out how not to make a fool of himself. Every emotional moment between them is like watching a rom-com where both characters forgot the script. When they share a moment of vulnerability, it's touching, but also tinged with the awkwardness of two people who are still figuring out how not to step on each other's toes, both literally and metaphorically. Their heartfelt conversations often take detours into the land of awkward pauses and misunderstood glances. The evolution of their relationship doesn't just add a touch of romance to the story, it adds a layer of comic relief and human connection. Latifah's presence brings out a side of Ryo that's part hero, part bumbling friend, making their dynamic a refreshing break from the usual magic and mayhem. Their bond also opens up new plot avenues, like navigating noble social circles, which for Ryo is like trying to dance ballet in a minefield. In SAIKENKI, Spirit Chronicles, the story of Ryo and Latifah is a charming mix of bravery, affection, and a series of unintentionally funny moments. It's a tale that reminds us that even in a world filled with magic and danger, there's always room for a bit of awkward romance and a few good laughs. Join them on their journey of rescue friendship and the occasional face palm-worthy moment. In the amusingly convoluted world of SAIKENKI, Spirit Chronicles, the story of Ryo and Miharu, is like a nostalgic sitcom with a magical twist. Meet Miharu, the childhood friend from Haruto's past life, now starring in Ryo's present. It's like running into your old elementary school crush at a reunion, except you're in a different body and a different world. Talk about complicated. Miharu is the human embodiment of Ryo's what-if scenarios, and their meeting is more jarring than accidentally stepping into a cold shower. Every interaction between Ryo and Miharu is a balancing act between reminiscing about the past and dealing with the awkwardness of the present. It's like trying to fit the pieces of a puzzle together when half of them belong to a different box. Their conversations are a mix of remember-whens and so what-nows, filled with nostalgia and a healthy dose of confusion. Miharu's presence in Ryo's life is like an unexpected plot twist in a TV show. She's a living link to his past life, bringing a suitcase full of emotions and unanswered questions. Ryo finds himself facing a whirlwind of old feelings and new realities, leading to moments that are as emotionally charged as they are comically awkward. In the grand scheme of things, the dynamic between Ryo and Miharu adds a layer of heartwarming comedy to the anime's plot. Their relationship serves as a bridge between Ryo's former life as Haruto and his current life, turning the storyline into a roller coaster of emotions with a few loop-de-loops of hilarity. Their story is a reminder that the past can show up at the most unexpected times, often when you're least prepared and most magically occupied. In this chapter of SAIKENKI, Spirit Chronicles, Ryo and Miharu's journey together is a comedic yet tender exploration of reconnecting with your past and navigating the complexities of a new identity. It's a blend of laughter, nostalgia, and the occasional face-palm moment showcasing that life, whether in your original body or a magical new one, is never short of surprises. Join them in their quest to make sense of a past life in a present world, where every shared memory is a step towards understanding, and every awkward moment is a step towards hilarity. In the delightfully tangled narrative of SAIKENKI, Spirit Chronicles, The relationship between Ryo and Christina is like a rom-com set in a medieval political thriller. Christina, the royal powerhouse, enters the scene with all the grace of a queen and the subtle intrigue of a chess master. When she meets Ryo, it's less of a royal greeting and more of a, are you friend, foe, or just hopelessly lost? It's kind of interaction. Imagine a high-stakes political drama, but the new guy keeps forgetting his lines. Their evolving dynamic is less like a smooth waltz and more like an awkward tango with both parties trying to lead. Christina, with her regal poise and strategic mind, is all about the long game. Ryo, on the other hand, is just trying not to trip over the chessboard. Their interactions are a delicate dance of wit, political maneuvering, and the occasional social fox pass. Navigating royal intrigue with Christina is like playing a game where the rules keep changing, and Ryo's not even sure what game they're playing. Their conflicts arise from misunderstandings, differing agendas, and Ryo's occasional cluelessness about court etiquette. But like any good sitcom duo, they find ways to resolve their differences, often through a series of comedic misunderstandings and begrudging compromises. The intertwining of Ryo and Christina's lives adds a layer of humor to the otherwise serious business of royal politics. Christina's insights into the kingdom's inner workings provide Ryo with a crash course in noble life, which he navigates with the finesse of a cat in a yarn store. Their partnership opens new doors for Ryo, often leading to scenarios that are as comically absurd as they are plot critical. In this chapter of Genjitsu, Spirit Chronicles, the tale of Ryo and Christina is a delightful mix of high-stakes political intrigue and low-stakes personal blunders. It's a story that shows even in a world filled with magic and power, there's always room for a bit of humor, especially when it comes to navigating the complex dance of royal relationships. Join them in their journey of strategic alliances, awkward social gatherings, and the occasional royal mishap. As the curtain falls on the first season of Genjitsu, Spirit Chronicles, we find our hero Ryo and his many lady friends at the end of a journey that's part magical mystery tour, part romantic comedy, and entirely a series of fortunate accidents. The story of Ryo, a guy who just can't seem to catch a break unless it's magical or involves a new female character, is like a roller coaster designed by a wizard. From his rebirth into a world that clearly didn't read the user manual, to discovering magical powers that are more accident-prone than helpful, Ryo's journey has been anything but dull. Throw in a cast of female characters who each bring their own flavor of drama, and you've got a story that's as unpredictable as it is entertaining. The show's themes of identity, destiny, and the duality of life are deep, but let's face it, they're also the perfect setup for some great comedic moments. Ryo's constant struggle with his dual identity is like watching someone argue with their GPs. It's profound, but you can't help but laugh. And the theme of destiny? It's less about the stars aligning and more about Ryo stumbling into situations that even a fortune teller couldn't predict. By the end of the season, Ryo has grown from a magically clueless teenager to a slightly less clueless magical hero. His journey of self-discovery is filled with moments of accidental brilliance, interspersed with just as many moments of comedic misunderstandings. Ryo's growth is a testament not just to his resilience, but also to his ability to take life's magical lemons and make some pretty entertaining lemonade. The season wraps up with hints at future plot lines that are as intriguing as they are amusing. Will Ryo continue to navigate the complexities of his relationships and his magic without accidentally setting something on fire? What new adventures and comedic mishaps await our hero and his ensemble of powerful yet sometimes baffling companions? The future is a book waiting to be written, and if this season is anything to go by, it's bound to be a page turner filled with laughter, magic, and the occasional facepalm moment. In conclusion, Genjitsu, Spirit Chronicles ends its first season with a blend of comedy, romance, and magic that leaves us all eagerly waiting for what's next. It's been a wild ride through a world where magic is real, relationships are complicated, and the line between heroics and hilarity is as thin as Ryo's patience on a bad day. Stay tuned for more magical misadventures